Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, so I've got some control a little bit. Okay, perfect. All right. And this phone's almost dead, so if you call me on my other phone or text me on that one if we got some issues. This one here, I think it's going to talk in here any minute. Okay, thanks. Yeah,
Yes.
Okay,
So he's having issues with his too, so I had to go through the agenda, but
so it's going.
I've got this one up.
This
one's going?
should work.
What is that?
Oh, okay. That's what I doing for my
Okay.
compass here.
Okay, in case we get locked out.
Yeah, I can't.
Did you already hit go? What time is it?
Yeah, it's going. It's
Okay,
live.
yep,
It's
we're live.
right
All right, we are live, everybody.
Do it live.
There's your chair.
Thank you very much.
Could you check with the chief? She has sent the copies to Amanda that we have for work. I need it to report.
Oh, yeah. Let me,
She just sent it to him, so.
okay, I'll run back there.
Apple?
Like 2 minutes ago, so is Bob talking?
Nantucket? Yes. That's a pretty good tune.
Before it starts.
Oh, pomegranate.
There he is.
Ben is working on his antioxidants. Your pomegranate. Ooh. I should have thrown by, picked you up, and took you on the toes with me. Yeah.
The one thought I looked at last night too was the one that didn't get changed, so I had an extra hour in my mind.
I got an early start this morning because stupids can't realize it's freezing icy out and slow down.
Oh, I know.
Icy this morning.
There was quite a bit of black ice out this morning, wasn't there?
Oh, had a
Ridge 178. Car started all over the place.
hello.
She thinks she owns the place, watch out. Well, I did see you signed up to speak, so I guess you're just a cheerleader. Oh, you're a sign there. For on the agenda or not? On the agenda, okay. Monty and me.
You're feeling okay? Well, I mean, I wasn't good enough to get the vaccine yet. So.
He didn't stay at the Holiday Inn last night.
One of those people, huh? Yeah. Still gotta wait. Still gotta wait, even though I'm
I'm in no rush.
Until the last minute.
So they
Like
gave,
Congress?
They gave us an opportunity to get the vaccine, and said today I'm going to work. And one of the coworkers like, yeah, they sent out an email to everybody that said if you're willing to get the vaccine, they're willing to give you 8 hours vacation for going to get the vaccine. I just said, I'm good. Guess I'm getting another 8 hours of vacation. I just shake my head.
Yeah.
Bribing them.
No, actually, you know what's funny is even with the union, I'm kind of shocked because normally they fall back to it's not in the contract, we don't have to do that, we're not going to. But this one, they're like, no, they're sending out, they're like, yes, no, union employees, everybody, because normally they just fall back, it's not in the contract, you're not getting it. And they've done that with every type of extra benefit they're willing to do right now.
It must not be the teachers
Because
union.
they added maternity leave as an option for the admin people, and they're like, yeah, no, union guys, you don't get the maternity leave. No, this is paid 6 weeks or paid 8 weeks. Not so you get 12 weeks for FINLA, but this is actually paid through. As you get a 6 weeks. I'm not sure if you actually are on FINLA and you get the 6 weeks, or if you get 6 weeks and then you go do the 12 weeks of FINLA. But the FINLA is not paid unless you have sick time or something.
Right.
Use sick and vacation time to offset it.
So, but during public, we can one at a time, and then we'll get you in there, okay? You bet.
I was back here out rummaging and see if I didn't have any.
Are we still under a mask?
I thought it was if we're over 6 feet. He was saying that,
Mr. Finn, are we still under a mask mandate for this room?
Not if you can stay 6 feet away.
Well, we
I
have
didn't bring a tape measure with me.
even if we have an employee with it, and it's contract. Okay, that's true, yeah, so yeah.
I don't think I'm able to get a microphone over here.
Poor Janice.
Oh, no, that's gonna,
We're over time here. That's okay, people are used to it. Give them a tough time. We're worth the wait.
should have seen the mayor. Last week was a little rough.
And we're late.
Darlene laughed at that.
Test. Can you hear me?
We're worth the wait.
all right. Here we go down the rabbit hole.
I got a massive headache. That's exactly what it is.
All right, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Online?
Listen,
Raise your hand.
you just thumbed up yourself?
I just thumbed up myself, yes. Okay, thank you, Chief Jackson. All right, good evening, everybody. It is 7:02. It is Monday, March 15, 2021. This is a regular meeting for the City Council of Woodland. Everyone that's online, if you could please continue to keep your microphone muted during the meeting until called upon, that would be fantastic. If I can get everyone to please rise and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Councilmember Graham.
Here.
Councilmember Holland.
Present.
Councilmember Rounds.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Here.
Councilmember Plaza.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
All council members are here and accounted for. I'm going to step out of the room for just one moment here. Let me see. Where's the chief at here? Chief Kelly, there you are. Let me see if I can get him into a... How do I make him big? I don't know how to just make it him... Where is my view at here? I don't know. You guys are gonna have a nice little tiny little guy up there in the corner. I'll be right back.
Blow in his ear.
You can see him?
Okay.
All right, be right back. Hopefully you can hear everything too. Hey Chief, can you give me a test up there?
How can you miss me?
Yes,
Unmute yourself there.
Check 1, 2, check.
You good?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, they're doing an oath of office.
Yeah.
He can't do that here safely.
No.
So stupid.
It's for our newbie. He was getting
Where?
his
Right, come on, right. There you go.
All right.
You're on.
Go ahead and raise your right hand for me, please. And repeat after me. I, Christopher Sciacca,
I, Christopher Sciacca,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States,
and the laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Washington,
the laws of the City of Woodland,
and the laws of the City of Woodland,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
and impartially
perform and discharge the duties of
perform and discharge the duties of
the office of police officer
the office of police officer
for the City of Woodland
for the City of Woodland
according to law,
according to law,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Sorry, that was a little awkward, though. We prefer to have you in the chambers, but always.
Did he? That's okay, so did I. Yeah, mine was at that turnaround on I-5.
How we doing?
Good.
Yeah, could be better if they were in person, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're very excited here in Woodland. That is Proposition $1 at its finest right there, that Officer Sciacca. So welcome to the city, and he is on this is his first official day, so office coaching trip. So good for him. We welcome him, and we're excited, and thank you to the voters of Woodland for passing that important property tax. Moving on, that's all we have for presentations, but this evening I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Randolph first, before we go into some citizen communication this
I
evening.
remember saying I was here.
You did.
What's that?
I don't remember saying I was here.
He thought we didn't take roll. I told him that we had.
No, we did.
Okay, I must
Did you wake up?
a little slow.
A little slow,
Thank you.
okay. Mr. Randolph.
Okay, tonight we're going to have a hearing on the senior project. The package I know is coming from development. And one of the things is that this puts you in something of an unusual situation because you will exercise both the legislative function, because zoning changes by the Constitution must be made by the city council, but at the same time you're sort of in a judicial situation as well. And what this is known as a quasi-judicial decision. And part of that, and so what we will decide tonight is you can approve the planning commission's recommendation. You can approve it with conditions. You can send it back to the planning commission if you think more work is done, or you can disagree and turn it down. Quasi-judicial doctrine has two parts. First of all, if you have personal interest involved in this transaction, you will need to disclose it. The type of thing, personal interest is that if you could have financial gain based on the decision tonight, if you're a property owner, if you own property that's affected by it, if you're employed by an interested person, if you have prospective employment from an interested person, or anything impairing ability to be and remain neutral, or you have a family or social relationship with one of the parties. Does any of that apply to you? When the record reflects, it does not. The second thing is that the applicant and the opponent have the right to have the issue decided on what's in the record of which you have received. So it's known, the package that was put together by Community Development, that's gone out, that's public knowledge. You don't have to discuss anything in there. That is available to the other side. The only thing that comes up is that you may have had conversations with people about the project, either for the project or against the project or whatever. And what that's known as is an extra hearing communication. And because there's due process rights, it's okay that it happened, but the person, but either the proponent or the opponent of tonight would have the right to rebut it. If someone said this is ridiculous, it will cost $10 million, all you have to say is I had a conversation with so-and-so and this is what they expressed. And then if they wish to rebut it, that's fine. If they don't wish to rebut it. So the main thing is to ask, other than the formal record which you've seen, has anybody had an extra hearing communication on the subject?
Can we go down the line?
Yes, please.
Mrs. Rounds?
I have had communication with Darlene Johnson and received an email from the Marion Culvert, which is the attorney for the opposed.
Is that, I mean, is that the one that's dated March 12th, last Friday?
Let me look. This is February 16th.
Okay, so that was her initial one.
Okay.
Okay, and so that's already part of the record.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you've had?
No.
Communication. Councilmember Chapman? No. Councilmember Fredericks?
Yes, we all received an email from a citizen, Becky Buer, on Friday the 26th at 10:54 regarding a zone change. I did not respond to that email.
Okay, so, and what was the statement?
The statement, would you like me to read into the record?
Please.
Can you use your microphone, Mr. Fredericks, please?
That might help, right?
Thank you.
This is from Becky Buer. Email dated February 26, 2021. I understand that the Planning Commission has sent the Mitchell property zone change to allow a senior retirement facility to be built by Kirkland. Although I think it would be nice to have a retirement facility built that is not government subsidized or low income, as we've had enough of that in Woodland, I do not think that this is the place to do that. I believe there are many other areas in Woodland that would be better suited for something like this. Having a pub on the ground floor for mostly the tenants should not be consider a commercial development, and changing light industrial to accommodate it should not be done. It should be kept as light industrial, which is what it is intended for. Industry is what gives our town jobs. I hear the developer said that traffic would not be a problem as people over 60 don't drive much. What part of the world is he from? I urge you to vote to not to allow this change be made. Becky Buer.
Any other communications?
I also received an email as referenced by Ms. Rounds, except mine is dated Friday, February 12th. Is that the same document that's included in the packet for...
Are you talking about the brief from Truck Stop's attorney?
It's called Renewed Objection to Kirkland Senior Living Facility.
Just go ahead and put it on the record if you would. Or is it a brief?
It's a,
No,
yes, it is many pages long, and I really don't want to read. Sure, let me...
Okay, that is part of the record. That was the brief prepared by Truck Stop's attorney.
Okay,
Okay?
so we're good there?
So, yep, that's part of the record.
All right, and then there's some slides as well, dated February 18th, but I believe that might be part of the packet as well. And all of these were unresponded to.
Anything else?
I have nothing else, no.
Yeah, other than what's already been mentioned, I haven't had any communications with anybody.
Thank you. Mrs. Smith?
Is this one entered in a record, the one that we got from Travis Goddard about forwarded on from Weston Investment? That we did get an email from them on that one.
Is that part of the package already, or was that extra?
I think this is extra. You guys get that one too? It was forwarded to everybody as
I don't know
well.
if that's part of it. Do you want to, would you read that into the record?
So it was dated March 12th, City of Woodland to Travis Goddard, Community Development Director, and it's in reference to the Kirkland Senior Living Project. Dear Mr. Goddard, Weston Investment Company LLC is the property owner of the U-Store self-storage located at 620 Mitchell Avenue. My location is directly next to the proposed Kirkland Senior Living Project. I am in favor of the Kirkland Development's proposed project, Kirkland Senior Living, and the benefits it will add to the community. The property has been vacant for a very long time and has provided no benefit to the area. I hope that the city will approve this project to move forward and continue to improve the city of Woodland. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Weston Investment Company. Joseph E. Weston.
Thank you. Any other communications?
I think that was,
That's not part of the record already.
I think that was all of them,
Okay.
unless you guys see something else.
Ms. Holland?
Sorry, same one as them, but we also, I think everybody on March 12th got one from a Judy Grant and a Dave Lester.
Right.
So
Yes.
are those part of the record? You know, one is from Topper Industries and I don't.
I think it came last
On the 12th?
Thursday or Friday?
Friday. They came out Friday, so no, they wouldn't have been part of the packet.
Okay, well, the one of the ones you're talking about is what Mr. Smith just read. Was that with Weston?
No,
No.
no.
Okay, if you'll read those.
It's a whole bunch of them.
If you'll read those into the record, please.
Okay, let's see here. This one is addressed to everybody and Mr. Goddard, the mayor, from Dave Lester on March 12th. I represent Topper Industries at 1333 Bunland Street. We object to turning L1 light industrial into anything other than what it's zoned for. I understand the proposed units will be marketed to seniors, but as we all know, you cannot discriminate based on age for housing. The truth is the owner will rent to anyone that can afford to pay the rent. This will equate to at least one car per unit or 151 cars. This does not count workers and service vehicles. The traffic on Columbia is weighted towards trucks and delivery vehicles going into and out of an industrial area, some of which are going to or coming from Hopper. Hopper averages 2 to 3 delivery trucks a day, one trip in and one going out, so 4 to 6 trips. This does not include FedEx, Amazon, and UPS, and other 2 to 3 trucks per day. Outbound trucks from Hopper last year amounted to 261 trucks. Unsealed in excess of 125 Total annual trucks from Topper will be about 1,511 trucks. If you add our employees, that's another 17,500 vehicles a year. 35 employees times 2 trips times 250 days per year, over 19,000 vehicles for Topper alone. The intersection of Columbia, Glenwood, and Mitchell should be very entertaining and embarrassment to Woodland. If you miss getting in an accident between Carl's and McDonald's, you then have a new chance at our intersection. I hate to make light of this proposed use, but it does not make good planning sense on many levels. Please deny this proposed development. Dave Lester, President, Topper Industries. Let's see. Let's go back. And then this one is also from a Judy Grant from Topper Industries. These are my objections to the proposed Kirkland project. It seems to be a repeat of Lilac Place, including the same sales pitch. However, Lilac Place has only 39 units and causes misery every day. This proposal will have 150-plus commercial on the same amount of land with less parking. I cannot imagine what disasters will follow. Please present my objections plus her reasons from our logistic manager to the city council. Thank you, Judy Grant of Topper Industries. And then there's an attachment. I don't think I looked at it. Do I need to, who would I need to forward it to so this can all become? Oh, okay. I'm not sure what the attachment is. I don't think my phone looks at PDFs. Okay. I actually watched the planning meeting. Yeah, so I mean, I watched that, and the only communication I really had was I gave somebody a Reader's Digest version who wasn't able to watch it online. So that was about it.
Did you participate during the planning commission, but with testimony at all, or just listen?
No, I just listened to it and wrangled a 10-month-old baby.
Okay.
So.
Mr. Randolph? Mr. Chapman and I received the same email. It looks like Mr. Chapman was originally left off, and my name was spelled incorrectly, but it was forwarded to us from Ms. Grant. And the attachment that was also forwarded does not open. There does not appear to be anything in the attachment.
Okay, thank you for that. Is that
I think so. I've slept a lot since last week when these were coming in. So I think that's it. I also received those from Judy Lester and Judy Grant and Dave Lester.
And I myself have received all of what has been discussed here.
But nothing other than what's...
Nothing other than that.
And Mayor, I understand that if one of the parties wishes to rebut it, it will be during the comments on items on your agenda.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, anything that's been stated this evening, yes.
Thank you, sir, that's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Oh, yes. No, I'm having a hard time here. That one's not plugged in, and I've tried to plug it in. I don't know what to do with it. Yeah, okay. The meeting I was not here. All right, moving on to items not on the agenda. In person this evening, for those of you online, we will go through the folks that are in person first. And then if you'd like to provide testimony at this time, I will call on you individually, and we'll go through that process, but we'll do in person first. First up, we have Ms. Anthony. I'll get you to step up to the podium there. State your name and the item you'd like to discuss, and I will give you 5 minutes this evening.
Okay, hi, I'm Erin Tony. I think you all know where I live. Many years ago, I was here about 4.5 years ago, asking about the infrastructure study. As you know, it's still not done. But there's a development that you guys are proposing for the Carpentino Brothers west of Davidson Street crossing. I recently saw from Travis a preliminary traffic proposal on the intersection, which I've also talked to you previously about, how people get stuck on top of railroad crossing trying to go down Gary Street. And so it's not good, the proposal. It's actually probably making a bad intersection, essentially, in my opinion, legal intersection. Because what it's going to do is going to slow down traffic going down Gary to turn onto North Pekin. I have a map, which I'll give you. On one side is the proposal that I've seen from Travis. And on the other side is my crude attempt at trying to make it a little better. It's not perfect, but it has issues. And we have to consider that going down that over intersection, there is a lot of trucks. And the trucks would have to slow down to make the hard right turn on North Pekin. And they may have to swerve into oncoming traffic. And then this proposed parking lot is 337 spaces. Well, isn't that about equivalent to half of a Costco-sized parking lot? And all those people would be coming in and going out on a shift. So it wouldn't just be trickling in and trickling out. They also have a proposed driveway just a little bit further down on the point where they want to intersect. So you're going to have more people falling into a bad situation. So if you flip over to the other side, I did kind of a crude map where you want to keep the people going down North Pekin off the top of the railroad tracks going west. The people going east off of North Pekin will come down to a T, and then they can go up over the railroad tracks. But you do have to put a little hand-drawn bit in there. You have to leave a count for our equipment and for Peterson's trucks to get up onto North Pekin. In my opinion, that intersection or that driveway that they want to put in for those 337 cars does not need to come off of Gary Road. It needs to be onto North Pekin and also have a turn lane put onto it. So before you guys actually solidify this, I think this needs to go back to the drawing board. And I wouldn't have known anything about this until I contacted the city, asking them for the status of the infrastructure study, which happened 4.5 years ago. And at that time, we were told there was essentially no capacity for even 2 restrooms because you didn't know if the lines were going to have that. But now there's this development here with 337 spaces. Not against the development. I just want to make sure that that intersection is done properly and safe. Because I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this, but I have been on top of those railroad tracks with no place to go with a train coming at me. It's not the best feeling in the world. And if you add people into that section, into a bad intersection, I really don't want to hear a big crash someday and find out that the person got hit by a train because they had no place to go. So that's pretty much all I have.
All right. Thank you. Mrs. Donna Butler. Again, state your name and your topic, and I'll provide you 5 minutes.
I'm Donna Butler, Woodland resident for 42 years, and I'm here for just a quick clarification. At the last council meeting, March 1st, my public comments were to the council. Tonight I speak to the mayor. First, I'm thankful that you were willing to run and step up to the plate when Woodland needed a mayor. It's always pleasant when our paths cross in town, whether at McDonald's for an early morning citizen meeting, at Luckman's, Walmart, shopping with your wife, or ringing the Salvation Army bell at Safeway. Your personal, upbeat manner is appreciated. Your comments at the last meeting directed to the folks in the gallery, of which I was one, prompted me to return to this topic of Woodland being closed versus Woodland being open. In your March 16, 2020 press release, regarding your state of civil emergency proclamation for the city of Woodland. It states, all city-owned facilities will be closed to the public. On the Woodland City website, there's a link for city's response to COVID-19. It also states, City Hall, city offices, and the police department lobby are closed to the public. All public events and public reservations through May 31st are canceled. Restrooms at city parks are also closed. As of this morning, these things are still closed, not open. In light of this, it's understandable that there are opposing views as to the city of Woodland being open or closed. This matter will easily be resolved when you withdraw the one-year-old proclamation of civil emergency and let the doors of our city-owned facilities be open. I don't know the necessary steps, what they are, to withdraw a proclamation. But you have the support of many citizens to do this as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Butler. I appreciate that. All right, Trish Huddleston. Please state your name and your topic, and I'll provide you 5 minutes.
My name is Trish Huddleston. I don't really have a topic. It's just kind of in response to last week and what's going on right now. I came prepared also. So I was at the last meeting, and I want to thank you guys for making me feel welcome. I appreciate that. I'm very grateful to be here in person. And I came because I don't know what else to do. You mentioned that we were barking up the wrong tree, but Olympia, the Capitol is surrounded by barbed wire fencing. The National Guard has been there. They tell us to apply for permits to protest, but they're not authorizing permits. So we're being shut down from everywhere. So what are we supposed to do? We just don't know what else to do but to come here and ask you guys for your support against all this. The governor continues to abuse his powers, and he's just devastating Washington. The mayor mentioned our sales tax revenue is up. However, I'm still watching businesses struggle to keep their doors open with so many community members out of work. We have all seen the devastating consequences of Inslee's lockdown, so I'm just looking for a solution. So I want you guys to help me understand how this board works. From what I understand, the state is supposed to protect its citizens from an overreaching government, but we can't rely on the state. So as a city, do we have a voice in the state? Can we get a resolution or a proclamation or even a letter sent, something? Would this board even be interested in doing something like that? So one of my biggest concerns is these mandates and policies are made with no scientific data. I'm not in the medical field, but it didn't take me long to find actual data that shows the CDC and the government is misleading the public and they're blatantly lying to us. I know my history, and it's not hard to see where tyranny leads us, and we're headed that way really fast. I just cannot live this lie any longer, and I refuse to comply with tyranny. We now have enough data showing lockdowns and masking does not work, and we can look at Florida as proof. So why is the government trying so hard to keep us misinformed in fear, locked down and oppressed? It's been over a year, and we have enough data to prove lockdowns and masking do not work. This tyranny needs to end, so I want to know, when will Woodland stand up and speak up about Inslee's abuse of power? What will Woodland representatives do to protect and educate the community? So, that's mine.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Gibson. Please state your name and your topic and provide you 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Joey Gibson. Here to talk about also the resolution for the lockdown. First of all, I want to thank you guys for meeting in person. That's such a beautiful thing. I know it means a lot to people. It's something we've taken for granted. You know, it's something that we've always been able to do, and then all of a sudden, a lot of cities, they just shut it down, and you can't even be able to talk to elected officials, and so we want to thank you for that. The next thing is I want to thank you guys for, I understand that there was that resolution that came up a while ago. I'm a little bit late to the game, where you guys have talked about how there's not enough evidence to support shutting down Woodland and talking about opening up. And I understand that every single one of you voted to pass that, and with all due respect to Mayor Finn, I know that you shut it down, and that was your right. And so I want to thank you guys for actually doing that and being leaders and trying to be a voice for your community. And, you know, you may ask why I'm coming here into the city of Woodland, and I live in Vancouver, Washington. It's because the truth is very contagious from my experience and what I've learned. And what we need is we need people in positions of leadership, leadership in your own community, to stand up and speak for the truth. Otherwise, the lies that we see in this country, it's going to continue to destroy this country. I've seen, I know that people in Clark County, all over Clark County, and all over Calais County, and all the different cities, I know that they are paying attention. I know that they would be impacted. As you guys know, the city of Mossy Rock, you had a courageous mayor and a courageous city council that basically said we are open, right? They said that, they put it on paper, and it had a huge impact. It inspired people here in Woodland to open up. It inspired people across the state of Washington and made national news because people are so thirsty for the truth right now. Like, so thirsty because we're just surrounded with lies. I mean, that's how I feel. If we continue to stay silent amongst these lies, okay, if we don't speak the truth, the lies will conquer this country. Lies only exist in the absence of the truth, right? Darkness only exists in the absence of light. And so I'm here to, in the most respectful way as I can, from not being from the city of Woodland, ask the mayor to reconsider his position on this, to kind of come back to this and start pushing at a local level. There is this belief that people can't do anything at a local level because of things that are done in Olympia. And I know that's not true. I know that there's things we can do. The least that we can do is have a voice, but there's other ordinances also that we can begin to push for. There's a city in Washington State that passed an ordinance that they will not put any local money to enforce these mandates. Obviously, Attorney General Bob Ferguson threatened to try to come after them for that, but it held up. If you're going to do something at a local level where you begin to protect your community, okay, they're going to come after you. I mean, that's just a fact. It's unfortunate, but it's true. But it's going to take courageous and bold actions, in my opinion, to really start to get this country back. I have this vision, and I came here in 2019 and was treated very, very respectfully by all of you. And one of the things is I had a goal to start pushing back against these Second Amendment things at a local level. But now what I see is I envision us starting to build pockets of resistance at a local level across the state of Washington and even Oregon, pockets of freedom where the community really take a stand with the city council or with the commissioners, and we really begin to push back against these things they're doing in Olympia. I'm here to tell you, you will get so many people excited in Woodland and these other cities I'm working with, like Battleground, where they start to take initiative and they lay claim to their own city, right? Where they say, instead of just, not getting involved, where they care more about you guys than they care about the President of the United States. Because you guys have more of an impact on the people in the city of Woodland than President Biden or whoever the president may be in the future. And so, anyways, like I said, I respectfully ask that you reconsider that, and I appreciate the time, and God bless all of you guys. Keep up the good fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Mayor,
Yes.
can I address any of this stuff just to make some clarifications, or should I just...
During your report
Okay.
at that time? Ms. Polly Merwin? And please state your name and your topic that is not on the agenda, and I'll provide you 5 minutes.
I'm Polly Woodland, and basically I just want to talk from a Woodland resident's point of view and concerns and frustrations, along with being a small business owner here in Woodland for the last year.
Okay.
Okay? So basically, Joey and Trish really said a lot of things that I feel as well that I would touch on in what I have to say today, but I guess I don't know if this is a situation where I can ask a question and it can be answered.
I will do my best. At this time, council will not address the comments, so they're through me at this point.
So
but I'll do my best.
My first question is to you. I would really like to understand exactly what your job is.
Here at the city?
As mayor.
I'm the chief executive officer for the city.
So what does that mean?
Daily operations.
So what do you do exactly?
I run the city and make sure that you're still able to flush your toilet and make sure that the workers come in and make sure that the infrastructure is managed and taken care of, and making sure that we're following a budget that the city council has provided to me.
Okay, Okay, so I'm not going to ask what everybody else's job is, but this is my concern. I have a freedom rally at my bar in January or February, it was January, and I had one commissioner show up, and it was Arn from Davidson County. I see a lot of people sitting there that are in leadership, and I didn't see one of you at my rally. That makes me very curious on a lot of levels, and it makes me really wonder if you're in the fight for Woodland and the people. I am the people. The people that spoke tonight are the people. Like, we need you to be our leaders and to represent us. It was interesting to me that nobody chose to come to that rally because, after all, it was about our freedom. It was about, more than anything, it was freedom. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life, quite honestly. I'm here to tell you, as a bar owner, that runs across hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, that this city is sick of this. The people are sick of it. Like, these mandates are killing small businesses. The loss is unmeasurable. I understand COVID, that it's a disease, and or it's a disease. I understand that. But at the same time, we don't have real numbers anymore. Like, we don't have actual COVID deaths. Like, what are COVID deaths in this city right here? I am compassionate about it. My daughter, she's 14 years old, got COVID. We lived through it in our house. I understand that, but it was nothing more than the flu. I've talked to many, many people, and that's how they feel. They recover, yet none of that is talked about when it's in relationship to COVID. People are so scared to listen to certain news outlets, which is basically all the media, and unless you search out your own information, you're listening to this media that we all watch on TV at night, and it's ridiculous. People are scared. People are isolating themselves. Our kids are suffering. Like, the damage that's coming out of this, the collateral damage is worse than the disease. I can't understand for the life of me why this is continuing on and on and on. Why is it that people have to freaking wear a mask when they walk around, but when you're seated at a table, you don't? So you're seated here. Now you get up over 3 feet. Oh my God, is COVID there? Are we all in jeopardy and risk? I close my bar at 11 o'clock. That's when my business is. It's killing me. It's killing everybody. It's not just me. So I would like to see my city stand up and fight for this city, for the people here in Woodland. I lived in Portland for 52 years. I sold my home. I brought my adult children, my grandchild, everybody to come to a rural area unlike anything I've ever experienced, to get in a place where I was around like-minded people, people that fight. I don't see a fight here. I've seen no fight, and I cannot understand. I can't understand. I mean, what a privilege to be in the position you're in. What a privilege. You all have the opportunity to make a difference. You're our leaders. You speak for us. So I'm wondering in all of this, what are you guys doing? I mean, I would have thought I would have at least seen some of you to come support freedom, but I didn't. Nobody reached out to me for that, except Arn. And he made a wonderful speech. And I'm telling you, this community, they're done with this. It's gone on far too long. We can make a difference as Woodland. You can all stand up and fight for some of these things. Nothing's being fought for in this city. That's all I have to say.
All right.
I would like to add one thing. The 6 feet thing, back in the 1890s, his name was Fogg. He studied germs and germ disease. And he was the one that came up with 6 feet. It wasn't Fauci. It wasn't anybody current here in the world we live in. It was somebody 100 years ago determining how many feet we need to stay apart. For me, the collateral damage is worse. My kid is 14, and oh my God, what is she thinking about our world? Or my 5-year-old granddaughter that can't even play with kids on the playground.
Ms. Bowen, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no one else signed up in person for items not on the agenda. Is there anyone online for items not on the agenda? Now's your opportunity to step forward. Seeing no one, moving on to items on the agenda. First up, Mrs. Johnson. There's no public hearing this evening. There's no public hearing.
I'm hearing some, in opposition to the zone change. First off, when you've lived in Woodland as long as I have, you've got a little bit of history behind it. And one of the things that the chamber was really involved with, and I can't tell you how many years ago, but it was to do something with the parking in the downtown Woodland, and also to allow for residential above commercial buildings. This was, we had a bakery 100 years ago in Woodland. Everything's 100 years ago, I don't know how long ago it was. But, and they have their living quarters up on top. And then there was a time period when that was being questioned on whether they could do it if you weren't pre-existing. So the chamber really got involved in getting it so that if we had commercial down below, you'd be able to have living quarters at that. It was never intended to be a way of pushing your way in to the industrial area, saying that something is commercial when it's really not commercial, in order to build residential there. I was at the Planning Commission meeting, and I actually sent Carol the argument that the attorney presented in opposition to the change. And to me, after hearing the argument and knowing the history of where we came from, anybody, I left the meeting because I couldn't believe anybody would vote on the Planning Commission in support of that proposition. And yet they did. And I have no idea why, because it's not at all what was intended when we made that, when we did that zone change. And you can go back and look at the records. It was strictly, you had a big amount of residential. I think it's maybe 1% commercial in that proposed things, and they're calling it commercial so they can build the residential. Woodland has done some things that haven't been to the benefit of bringing good paying jobs here. And this is another one of the things that they're considering, because the traffic situation is terrible. I'm really old and I drive all the time. I don't have one friend that doesn't drive. And a lot of my friends are older. And in this proposal, they're going to reduce the number of parking spaces because it's catering to older people. That's ridiculous, first off. Then we've got a traffic problem. When I looked at what they're going to pay $41,000 into a pocket of traffic. That's not going to fill 5 potholes, much less build new avenues, new exit, new streets. We all, Becky Beer wrote a letter on it, and you can't even get into her place much of the time when you're driving out of the industrial area, because traffic is so backed up. And this would add more traffic to that. I just hope that the city council will look at this and reject it completely. Do not send it back to the planning commission. I don't know where they're coming from on it, because it's not really where any city that I know of would turn around and take industrial land that is ready to be developed, has all the services and everything, and put a retirement home. Or not a retirement home, because we're not providing service, but a retirement apartment. And every time you do something that hurts the traffic, you hurt the entire industrial area. right now, we're in transportation. I'm done.
5 seconds.
Anyway, we're in transportation, and other businesses have wanted to come here as distribution. They don't want to come here with the traffic that we have, and this will make it worse. Please reject it. And one other thing, I liked what everybody said earlier about freedom.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Kevin Brady. Please state your name, your topic that is on the agenda, and I'll provide you 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time tonight. Appreciate being here. My name is Kevin Brady. I'm a planner with OTAC. I don't really have a lot to add in terms of testimony. Just a couple things. One is we have a number of our team members that are attending the meeting tonight, so if there's questions, we have engineers, architects, designers. If there's a need to ask questions, our team is available. Including our land use attorney, who I think is also going to testify. As part of the opposition, there was a letter from one of the attorneys, or the attorney, I suppose, that had included an exhibit that was questioning the property adjacent to our property. And so I wanted to submit an exhibit, and I made copies. Can I hand those out?
Yes, please. As long as you have one for the record, I'll take that one. Do you have enough copies?
I think I do.
Okay.
Doing it the old-fashioned way.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. You want mine until you're done?
So if you look at the exhibit, on the left is the exhibit that was submitted by the opposition in a letter. And it's disputing a small area of land adjacent to our property that is labeled as this is TSI's land. And as it turns out, if you take the documents that we submitted as part of our application, which is the survey, you can see that that's clearly the right-of-way line, not their property. So just wanted to clarify that, and I have that in the record that we're not attempting at all to develop on the neighboring property. We are doing some development in the right-of-way as part of our pedestrian connection street. Also wanted to just indicate that in the planning commission hearing, there was a discussion about parking, and one of the things that was discussed in the planning commission hearing was that if parking did become an issue, there are remedies for that. There's remedies for Safeway to deal with parking on their site if it became a problem, and there's remedies for the city. So if parking became an issue on the streets, the city would have options for putting in signs or towing or some sort of enforcement mechanism that would be able to handle any kind of on-street parking if that were indeed an issue. We don't think it is, but in case that would be an issue, the city has that's really the only thing I wanted to add to the record in terms of proponent. There'll be some other testimony from our land use attorney on some of the legal issues that were presented, and then also Dean Kirkland, who is the developer, who is also going to be testifying. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kirkland? I'll have you state your name and your topic, which I think we know what it is, judging by your name, and we'll provide you 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'm Dean Kirkland, Chairman of Kirkland Development. I just want to take a minute and face the council and say thanks for all your effort and time to put in our proposal. We, over probably the last, in my 53 years as a resident of Clark County, I've passed that property. Went to University of Washington and come back and forth to go home. And my wife and I noticed it just sat there. It was highly visible. About 2 years ago, we started to inquire about the purchase of it. We looked at doing a mini storage, something more RV-like, and it was met with some resistance. We heard that Woodland didn't want to be a dumping ground for too much metal buildings and things like that. And based on our experiences, my grandfather back in 1968 started retirement homes, and we've got over 1,000 units. And you'll hear from Greg Franks, who's with Manor Management, that manages the force, and he's done so for 30 years. We look at areas where there's golf courses, the proximity of Horseshoe Lake, the river, hospitals in Longview, hospitals in Sam Creek, and now the casino, and things for seniors to do. And we started doing the numbers and looking at the market, the Safeway, the physical therapist, the dentist, Subway, the pizza place, the Italian place, everything that's out there. It really is a winner in the making for people that just step out their door and walk over there. One of the things I saw was the petition. I noticed, I kind of did some research, and I have less than 10 people that are actually residents. These people will live here in this community and spend money for the tax base of the community and help some of these businesses that are struggling in this market that I heard earlier on. We think that this will be a very impressive project, it will be beautiful, and a real statement for the world. So we thank you for everything. Look forward to pursuing this matter.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. All right. Mr. Greg Franks. Please state your name and your topic, but I think Mr. Kirkland already said you're here to speak to action item C this evening, so I'll give you 5 minutes.
Okay. My name is Greg Franks. I'm the president of Manor Management Services. I'm speaking on behalf of the Kirkland Community Development. Manor Management Services currently operates, has developed and operated just about 1,000 units for the organization that Dean's grandfather founded. We have buildings from downtown Vancouver of the size of 60 units up to the size of 300 units in Portland. So one of the things that I wanted to share was we have operated these buildings from the ground up from day one. Some of the opposition is parking. What I want to just address real briefly is, first off, there were some comments made that seniors don't drive. That's absolutely untrue, and we would never make that statement. What we're saying is, based on the service packages that are available today, when you look at public transportation, when you look at the buses and the vans that the facilities purchase, and the transportation that we provide, it limits parking, it limits access. Folks don't need cars. So it's not to say that they don't have cars, it's just to say some of the things that we're very innovative in doing. When we provide transportation to and from doctor's appointments, when we make agreements with, in this particular case, with Safeway on pharmacy deliveries and things like that, you're not going to have what we find in our daily operations is we're not going to have the amount of vehicles on the road that you would typically see. It's not a high impact because we're innovative and practice all those services. One of the things when you look at these retirement communities, which Gene's grandfather originally hired me a long, long time ago, is his philosophy was, not to be an island, but to be part of the community, an active member. Before I came up here, or before I went to Dean's office today, we just finished the second vaccine clinic at Kirkland Plaza in downtown Vancouver. We will have vaccinated over 2,000 seniors by the time we're done. And we invited people in from the community, asked for caregivers. I am in full support of this. Obviously, this is what I do every day. What I'm telling you is, it is a positive thing to happen to the community. It will enhance a service. It'll enhance the community. And again, I just want to reiterate my experience with parking. When you look at total units, we currently have about 20% of those units have cars. So it's not to say, but when you look at family members, you look at visitors, you look at all those things in the transportation services we provide, we do all that in-house. That's what our job is. So it's not to say that they don't drive, it's just to say that they don't have as large an impact as you would as a multifamily facility, as an example. So I thank you for your time. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right, I've had a few folks online that have reached out. We'll start with Mr. and Mrs. Fredrickson. Are you both going to speak this evening, or just one of you?
Both of us.
Both? Okay. Why don't we start with you, Mrs. Fredrickson. Please state your name. I'll provide you 5 minutes.
Yes, my name is Brenda Fredrickson, 550 Columbia Street.
All right, go ahead.
I am against the rezone of this property because it is right in the middle of property zone light industrial. It is surrounded by heavy-duty truck traffic and truck repair. This property is close to an eye doctor and a dentist's office, not close to any healthcare provider. Kirkland Development is asking to have this property rezoned to build a 5-story building. The closest ladder truck to this property for a fire is located in Ridgefield, Washington. This is a minimum of 15 minutes away. A lot of damage can be done in a fire in 15 minutes. The access to this property on Mitchell is also a terrible idea. This corner has heavy truck and car traffic and will be awkward to access for anyone, not just fire trucks. The property in question is or was owned by Ruth Coda, I'm not quite sure. But this property does not have access to Safeway's parking lot. It is landlocked. That is why it's been for sale for so long. Ruth Coda contacted us at Truck Shops Incorporated years ago and suggested that when we get ready to sell our property, we should join forces with her and sell them together. She wanted to because she was landlocked. Truck Shops Incorporated is owned by the Frederickson and Mansai families. These families met and decided it was time to sell, so we listed with Ruth at RE/MAX July of 2017. These two pieces of property sat on the market for 2 years without an offer. We canceled our listing with Ruth in January of 2019. During that same month, Ruth wrote Doug, my husband, in an email that she was finalizing the offer on her 2 acres. She said that it will take 2 years for design, engineering, and approval, and another year to build. The design and engineering on this project are now complete. They are just waiting on the approvals. To start a project like this is huge. We feel that Kirkland Development would not go to this expense if they didn't think that they could do it. Who at the City of Woodland is telling them that to rezone should be no problem? We hired another realtor and listed our property again August of 2019. In May of 2020, we had a company want to purchase our property only if they could also purchase Ruth's behind us. Our realtor contacted Ruth about this. She told him that she would see if she could get out of the deal she made with her buyer and get back to him. On the very last day, she contacted our realtor and told him that she could not get out of the deal. So this company could not purchase these 2 parcels. If she would have gotten out of the deal, a company would have purchased this property, kept it light industrial, and hired dozens of people. Why did Mr. Kirkland think that it would be so easy to come to Woodland, have a piece of property rezoned, and build a building for older people who he says will not drive? The Lilac Place or Apartments, I don't remember what it's even called, but it's on Glenwood Street. That was another light industrial piece of property the City of Woodland approved to have rezoned. This complex has very little parking and no dog park. The people living here have to park on the street and trespass daily to take their dogs across the street on Topper Float's property to relieve themselves. The police of Woodland are also called to this apartment complex constantly for domestic calls. Not only has this taken the safety away from Woodland residents, it has also taken their money too. A developer came into Woodland, had a piece of property rezoned, built their apartment complex on it, and left. They collect their money each month and do not care about Woodland at all. The same thing will happen here. A senior living facility would be great in Woodland, just not here. Safeway would not let Ruth Coda have access to their parking lot years ago. This is why her property never sold. It was landlocked. Now, Safeway came up at the City Planning Commission meeting like they were actually there and have approved of everything. They have not. It is illegal to trespass on Safeway's property like it is illegal to trespass on private property to have your dog relieve itself. Yet, at the Planning Committee meeting, it was even suggested that maybe the seniors could have golf carts to drive on Safeway's lot. How is this acceptable? 150 living units and 49 parking places. Where will these people park? Where will these people take their dogs to relieve themselves? They said that the pub at this location will be open to the general public. Where will these people park? Kirkland's argument to parking is that their study showed that people over 60 do not drive. That is an insult. When we told people of this comment, they were appalled. Of course, people in their 60s drive. We would like to know where this study was taken. Perhaps they could make it public record so that we could read it. You
10
might
seconds,
be
Mrs.
asking why
Frederickson.
we care about Woodland. You might be asking why we care so much about this rezone if we are selling our property. Well, our mother is a Zumstein and our father is a Frederickson. These are two of the first families that resided and homesteaded in Woodland. Evidence of this fact that our great-grandfather homesteaded on what is now called Frederickson Road. We have had family in this small town for years and years, and we still do. We love this small town and do not want to see development occur where a business could be built and hire many people. A senior living facility would be great in Woodland, just not at this location. Please leave it zoned light industrial. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Frederickson. Mr. Frederickson?
Yes.
I'll provide you 5 minutes as well.
Perfect. Doug Frederickson, 550 Columbia Street, Woodland. Mr. Kirkland, at that meeting, you did say people that are living in their places do not drive over 60. Well, I for one am driving. We do all drive. Call it what you want, but this is simply a residential rezone. With two businesses on the lower section, I don't consider it commercial. We have 6 people work. You only got to have 6 people working on 2 acres. We have another shop right there. We have 1.75 acres, and we have 13 people working there. So if you did the math, there'd be quite a few more people paying taxes and supporting the community. And I do have an issue with this application in the first place. The only way the applicant could get access to is to encroach on our property. How did Travis and the staff sign off on it? I think you guys need to come over and show me how the property line is coming up, because if you need your 60 feet, I'm only counting 9 squares for the sidewalk. That's 45 feet, and it's about 15 feet short, which would make it to 60 feet if you get 12, and 12 is definitely on our property. So I'd like somebody from the staff to come over and just point it out maybe tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon would be nice. And the public access to Safeway is a bad idea, because Safeway delivery trucks come off that road, and they just drive all the way down that road and they access Columbia Street right behind Safeway, come all the way down. And there's a stop sign, or a stop sign painted on the road, but none of them stop at that stop sign. They stop at the stop sign on Columbia Street. There's a stop sign there, and we do stop there. A senior living center in Woodland would be nice, but not in that area there. I mean, that nice building is good and all, but it needs to be where it's zoned. And I think Gene Jones has plenty of property within real estate for a senior living area. And the city will still get the money for the parks, the roads, the fire, the police. They'll get the money. And I think you actually should negotiate maybe a little more on the road fund for it, because Woodland does need some roads. The traffic is terrible. Any questions?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederickson. All right, we'll go online again with Mr. Armand Restos-Spots. Did I get that right?
That's correct. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I'll go ahead and give you 5 minutes, and please provide your topic.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. I'll be testifying in support of the Kirkland Development proposal. My name is Armand Restos-Spots. I am the attorney for Kirkland Development, obviously applicant under that proposal. Address 1499 Southeast Tech Center Place, Suite 380, Vancouver, Washington, 98683. I just want to again thank staff for their diligent, comprehensive review of this project in coordination on resolving a number of these issues throughout. I want to briefly touch on 3 topics that came up at the Planning Commission level and that have been brought up numerous times through the public comment period up until the City Council hearing. So number 1, parking. As we just heard a little earlier from both sides, I think it's very important that the Council keeps in mind on this proposal, the concerns that have been raised about parking, they're not based on the code or the legal requirements. They're merely personal assertions that the spaces identified are insufficient. What should be emphasized, and which is outlined in the staff report, is that the applicant's parking is within the legally permitted code requirements. We meet it, and we're operating within those legal parameters. So it's important to keep that context, that we aren't going outside what the code allows us to do. But beyond those code requirements, the applicant has supported its parking numbers with testimony, as you just heard from Mr. Franks earlier, from the operator on similar sites. And this number is not arbitrary, and it's not a wrong calculation. This is based on our experience and the design of this project for this particular site. I would also just note that the low impact of parking needs on this proposal is indeed one of the many reasons why this project makes sense at this location. Traffic and parking impacts are primary concerns in industrial corridors, and yet this proposal mitigates that to an extraordinary level. So another potential use at this site, whether it be commercial, industrial, whatever, would have significantly more traffic and more parking problems, as many commenters have clearly focused on. So it's important to know what this proposal is doing as well. Regarding safety, this other neighbor has suggested that the applicant's proposal is somehow creating new safety issues. Councilors, it just has to be stated, whether an industrial user, a truck driver, is obeying the law, that's not an applicant issue. Obeying traffic regulations is not a condition of approval for a commercial use. That would be an issue for the sheriff's office or even code enforcement, but not for a condition on this particular development. But notwithstanding that, we have implemented safety measures, including the pedestrian walkway, signage, we mitigating these concerns. And our traffic report is in the record, and I would hope the council can look to that if they do have questions on it. Finally, a larger topic, the incompatibility of this use in this location. I just want to reiterate our position on the rezone and the plan amendment, because that is what the neighbor's attorney has focused on in their submittal. I'm not going to go into the legal disagreements there. My original submittal is already in the record. That's in the council's packet. You can address those arguments if you'd like. I'll just emphasize that concerns over the comp plan, whether the comprehensive plan with the county and the city coincide, those are issues properly heard for the Growth Management Hearings Board, a venue and a forum that's separate from City Council on a development proposal. And those are also issues that could have been addressed in 2016 when the comp plan was adopted, not tonight in 2021. What's before you is assessing the city's comprehensive plan and other factors necessary to determine whether this rezone is in the benefit of the public interest. We've outlined all our arguments in our submittal. The staff report and our submittals have outlined dozens of policies and goals that are furthered by this proposal. And so we believe this is a critical and excellent project for this site. We don't believe there are incompatibility issues. We've designed and tailored the site very specifically. And just for my final 3 points, I just want to say 3 things on the use of this site as we proposed it. Number 1, this site has not developed for years. You're very likely aware of that. We're proposing a viable and beneficial use of the site. And at least one neighbor submitted in the record as reference to Weston Investments is in support of this proposal too. And we remain committed to being good neighbors. It should be noted that we actually, after the Planning Commission hearing, offered to the neighbors potential solutions to their concerns over noise and odors. And we proposed some legal options to address that. We have not heard back from them yet. In the record, they have apparently in their objection letter suggested that the county can impose a covenant on our property. I would challenge that, and I would argue that that's an issue for us to resolve as neighbors, not city council on a development approval or conditional approval. And finally, I just want to note that this is a commercial proposal. Commenters continue to assert that it's residential, but it is not. Applicants emphasize in the record that the beauty of this proposal is that it is a commercial component on the ground and a residential use on top. All of that is permitted within the zone that we're proposing to change to tonight. So if you have concerns, or if the neighbors have concerns over what uses are permitted in that zone, that is a legislative decision that can be addressed at a future council hearing to change the law. But we're operating within code parameters, and that's all that can be required of an applicant. So with that, I thank you for your time. And again, just as the other applicant representatives here, we are happy to answer questions on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Also online, we have Maureen Calvert. Maureen, are you ready to speak?
I am. I'm trying to make sure everything's turned on.
There you go. Perfect. If you could please state your name, and I'll provide you 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Maureen Calvert from Horenstein Law Group, 500 Broadway Street in Vancouver, Washington. I'm here on behalf of TSI and A1.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and City Councilors, for the opportunity to speak to you today. As you may know, I've emailed you a much longer explanation of the objections that we're raising on behalf of TSI and A1. You heard earlier this evening from Brenda and Doug, who own those businesses that are located immediately south of the property that Kirkland Development proposes to develop. As of this time of the hearing today, we have not yet heard the city council, city attorney, planning commission, or anyone respond to any of the legal objections that we've raised. So we're not sure whether the city has considered any of those items. So we would request that the city council defer this matter over to a workshop so that the legal concerns, which are significant, hence the really long legal briefs that Armand and I have both filed, can fully be addressed and understood by city council before it takes a vote. I would also like to point out that, as Armand just stated, counsel for Kirkland Development, that the Growth Management Hearings Board is the appropriate place to address many of the legal concerns that are raised here today. I would like to point out that there's no reason for the Growth Management Hearings Board to get involved if City Council follows the law in this instance. The only time or opportunity that these questions go to the Growth Management Hearings Board is if the City Council makes a decision here today and an appeal of that decision is filed, which would take it to the Growth Management Hearings Board. So the only time that board would consider this is if someone would like to reverse the City Council's decision. It is absolutely incorrect to say that these issues should have been raised back in 2016, because back in 2016, the property you're considering today was zoned as light industrial. There was no objection to be made in 2016. It is only now that Kirkland Development is seeking to change that zoning to commercial, with only 1% of the property being developed as commercial property. 99% of the square footage on the property will be residential, and arguments have been made that several policies will be advanced by this residential development. The problem with that is residential policies and goals are inappropriately used to support a commercial development. In order to change the zone from industrial to commercial, there must be a commercial basis for that transformation, and not a single one has been cited by city staff or the Kirkland Development. There have been arguments made that all of the commercial land in the UGA has been used, but that doesn't mean that the city, first of all, we don't know that that's necessarily true, and just because developments have been approved, it doesn't mean those developments are being built. Moreover, just because some commercial land has been used up, that doesn't mean we should convert this land to commercial and then not use it for commercial development. The proposed development will provide 85% less jobs than City Council anticipated when they estimated job potential for commercial land. This is a gross misuse of the property, whether it's industrial or commercial. More importantly, back in 2015, the citizens of the city of Woodland told the City Council that the #1 priority for them was creation of jobs. The City Council heard that and infused that into the comprehensive plan in 2016 and expressly stated that the #1 priority for the city of Woodland was creation of jobs. In 2019, when the comprehensive plan was amended, that priority was reaffirmed. To approve the Kirkland development now, that is what will create an inconsistency in the comprehensive plan for the city of Woodland. The city of Woodland tonight, if the City Council votes in favor of this, will be converting job-creating land into a 99% residential property with 85% less jobs than was ever intended. As elected officials, City Council, it is your duty to follow the law. It is your duty to implement the comprehensive plan, and it is your duty to carry out the priorities that have been established by your predecessors and through the citizens of the city of Woodland, who have unequivocally stated that job creation is their #1 priority. Finally, on the issue of parking, we have heard much about experience and data that the parking on this property will be sufficient, but that experience and the data has never been provided to the City Council. And as Mr. Kirkland, one of the other public speakers noted, in their experience, these people have cars, they just don't drive them. Well, if they have the cars, they have to park them somewhere. So the cars should have parking spaces, and reducing those parking spaces by 80% doesn't actually follow the code. There are requested variances in there, multiple, to bring the number all the way down to 49. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today, and please vote to deny the Kirkland development and comprehensive plan rezone.
Thank you, Ms. Calvert, and I apologize on saying your first name improperly. It's Marin, is that correct?
Marin, the longer A sound.
Gotcha, perfect. Thank you, Marin.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on, we have one other person that signed up this evening, just Brian. I know I've got two Brians on here. I have a Brian Frederickson and a Brian with no last name. I believe it's the Brian with no last name.
That is correct. And, yeah, sorry, I was having computer problems. Brian Frederickson.
Oh, okay, I just got you.
Avenue.
I've got you listed twice on my screen, but you are, okay, Mr. Frederickson, go ahead. I'll provide you 5 minutes.
Very good. I speak against the development as a longtime community member and a local professional firefighter. I had first-hand experience last year within the fire and EMS system here in Woodland when my son had a seizure at home. He was not breathing effectively and had to have a breathing tube placed by the fire department. This resulted in him being in the ICU for several days. I live a little under 3/4 of a mile from the new fire station, and it took them 9.5 minutes to arrive at my home from the time of the 911 call. They had to call an additional fire engine out of the center, and that took an extended amount of time. And the ambulance that responded that transported my son came from the city of Vancouver. What if I told you that that same scenario is going to happen when this facility, proposed facility, calls 911? They're going to get that same response time and the same ambulance coming from Vancouver. I'm not against development or the community growth here in Woodland. I actually encourage it and support it. But we cannot put the cart before the horse. Well, my opposition is unique, and this experience is unique. The priority should be to first better our infrastructure, like fire and EMS services, for the citizens who currently live and pay taxes here before we look at expansion. Let's put the proper protection in place. As a good start would be fire and EMS services.
Thank you, sir. All right, that's all that I have signed up. Is there anyone else online that has not had an opportunity to speak to items on the agenda? All right, seeing none others. Come to the portion for agenda approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Frederick, seconded by Councilmember Plaza. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, I would like to take a 7-minute break, if possible, before we continue on with the meeting this evening. All right, the time is now 8:18. We'll go back into session at 8:25.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Yeah, we're just taking that. So you're going to say, so one, are still the same, well, 3, 4? Okay, let me just want to make sure we got enough pairs in there. Oh, okay.
I get the ghosting me now.
How many do we have over here? Just Mrs. Deanna. She's rolling, and that one looks like she's got it at her, whatever she wanted it at there. Another one over here at the screen. What's that? We look like we're all about 6 feet? Yeah. All right. She's doing her job there. All right. Exit's still available? Okay. I quit drinking.
That was a mistake.
That was a huge mistake. Hey, I'm down 20 pounds.
Couple days too early?
What's that?
Couple days too early?
Couple days too early, yeah. I quit, then I started, and now I quit again.
You're going to be like that guy from Airplane. Looks like I picked the wrong day to stop sniffing glue.
Right. What's going on here?
How much time we got?
5 minutes. Okay.
I think so. Yeah. I think you kind of put here. Okay, yeah. Come on in.
I get it. It's a crappy spot.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm thinking he doesn't really care.
He doesn't even care, he's just looking for.
Yeah. I was telling Dan, I was like, yeah, when I first looked at the agenda, I was like, oh, it might be a light night. I might get home a little early. When I see the emails rolling through, I was like, I was right.
Threw that one out the window.
Here comes another 10 o'clock.
Your person is so much better.
Oh, absolutely. I just really enjoy when people stay for the entire council meeting. That's what I enjoy most.
They come and suffer with us.
Yeah. I've learned so much being on here that I think everybody should do it at some point. That way, Frank will earn his money and explain all of the what you can and can't do.
Randy will go down the list of residents and say, you and you tonight guys spend the night.
Yeah.
Have a draft.
Mm-hmm.
It's shifted to the city council for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Ms. Holland, who did you speak to that you gave the Reader's Digest version to? Joe? Oh, okay.
He had to work and wanted to make sure if it was worth him going back and watching.
Okay.
Carl, I can't believe you're eating.
Are they stale?
Yes.
You did the Long Beach before.
It's possible. If they that will be next.
Okay.
Absolutely. You bet.
I haven't eaten since breakfast, so guess what? It tastes pretty darn good.
You need another chair? You want me to bring it up there?
There you go. No, it's fine.
Ben, do you know?
You're on the same sort of, you want to, I can bring it up there.
No, I'm fine. Thank you, seriously.
This conference will now be recorded.
I remember I did
Ben. Silver Bowl for the year doing. That's on that specs, yeah.
What are you looking for? You trying to get plugged in on the? Oh yeah, it's not plugged in. Here we go.
Oh, because there's nowhere to plug it in. Maybe back here. Let me see. Hold on. No. Well, that's what
There's nowhere to plug it in.
And then is there another one? Well, that one's taken. Being out there.
There's only one spot.
I think.
No, that's not one. There's only the one spot.
Oh, that's right. He was here.
No. I think we might need an adapter. I'll ask Colby.
What was it originally plugged into?
I don't know. I would think that it was plugged into something. I have no idea. All right, the time is 8:26. We're back in session.
That was
We've come to the time on the agenda for city office reports of city council. Mr. Plaza.
Okay, I'll try to make...
And please, there's been some comment online as well. Please make sure you speak into your microphone
Yeah,
so
I
they can
just
hear you.
made sure it was turned on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to make this as short and sweet as I possibly can, but just a warning, I sometimes have a tendency to ramble. This is kind of just to clarify a few things. Over the last couple weeks, the city council and specifically the mayor have been getting a lot of grief about what we haven't done to address the Woodland back in business situation. And I would just like, again, to put it on the record exactly what we have done. Because believe it or not, we haven't just been sitting here twiddling our thumbs. First of all, the first thing that we did, and I believe, although it's the popular thing to do nowadays, I think we were the first in the state to pass a resolution declaring Woodland back in, open for business. We passed that back in June 2020. I wrote it. The entire council voted for it. Since then, the mayor, if I understand correctly, gave instruction to the police department not to make any arrests off of anybody who chose to open their business, and basically did everything that we asked him to do in the resolution. In addition to that, we were the first in the state, the first city council to say we're going to have public in-person meetings that are open to the public so the public can come in and address their elected officials as they should be able to. I believe either Pete or the mayor himself have petitioned Olympia several times about the status of the county and the city as far as businesses being able to openly open and not have to worry about retaliation from the state. I personally have emailed Olympia. I've emailed our congressional representatives asking for information and timelines for state of emergency declarations and all that good kind of stuff, and of course, the state kindly ignored me. In addition to that, I myself, and I know several other members of the council, have publicly criticized Olympia during city council meetings, addressed the things that they are doing and how we don't believe they are the correct things to do. Unfortunately, Olympia doesn't care. And because of the things that we have done on behalf of the citizens of Woodland, we have been investigated by L&I. We've been fined by L&I, and right now we're in the middle of deciding on whether or not we're going to pay L&I. But that still hasn't reached a conclusion. So to say that we haven't done anything is ridiculous, and the first few times I heard it, I figured I'd just let it go. That's just the way things are. But to be perfectly honest with you, I'm getting tired of people saying things that aren't true. Just as the citizens wouldn't like us up here saying things that aren't true, I don't appreciate it coming back the other way. And I know as a politician, I should be immune to those things, but I'm not a politician. I'm a citizen who cares about the city, and I'm here to serve the city as well as I can. Sometimes that gets me in trouble, sometimes it don't. As far as not attending any rallies or parties or anything like that, I am a small business owner myself. I work 12-hour days. After I get off work, I get to homeschool my children. So I don't have a lot of time to go out and attend these things. I'm not a good public speaker, obviously, so I wouldn't have been given any speeches or anything even if I had gone. So if that hurt anybody's feelings, I'm sorry, but my family is a higher priority than a rally. But that doesn't mean we don't care. We are still doing things The police department is still only doing law enforcement stuff. They are not the Gestapo for the state. They never have been, and the last time I checked, they never will be. So I just wanted to get that out there, and to also let people know that if they don't like the way that I'm doing things, that I will not be running for re-election come November, and they're more than happy, or they're more than able to come and fill my seat and see if they can do a better job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Plaza. Mr. Fredericks?
Yes, I would like to start this by thanking the citizens of Woodland for being allowed to serve them for the last 13 years. It's been a very humbling experience working on behalf of the nearly 6,500 citizens of this community. I'd like to thank my family, my kids who I missed their Monday sporting events because I was serving here. When I first started here, I have a kindergartner who will now be graduating from high school next year. The times where the family almost called the police department because I went to the grocery store to get something and I came back 2 hours later because I was talking to concerned citizens at the grocery store. Needless to say, it takes a huge commitment to serve this community. There are some folks on this board that are retired. I work for a large corporation. I work 60-hour work weeks. Sometimes I work the weekends. The members who serve on this board and the mayor deserve your respect. Sometimes it is okay to say thank you. Tonight I am announcing after 3 terms and nearly 14 years on this council that I will not be seeking a 4th term to serve on this board. I'm very proud of the many accomplishments, but I'd like to name a few. I'd like to start off with the professionalism of this body and the executive branch over the last 6 years. We are no longer a weekly laughingstock that we once were in the newspaper. I'm very proud of our mayor and the staff that he has surrounded himself with. These people make our city work. I'm proud of the accomplishments we've made with our fire service, and I'm happy that we were annexed into the Clark County Fire and Rescue, and I'd like to thank the voters for that, and I'd like to thank Chief Jackson, who I believe is out there as well. The level of service and the response time is night and day different from what it was back in 2008. I'm proud of what we were able to do with this building that we're in right now. And I'm especially proud of our citizens who decided to provide additional funding for our police department when it could not be done because we did not have the funding available in the existing budget. I'm proud that our water and sewer system is funded and no longer on the brink of bankruptcy as it was when I first joined this body. Those are just a few. There's still work that needs to be done. And it will require this community's support. Exit 21, the transportation improvement, whatever decision is going to be there is not going to be an easy one, and it will take some give and take from industry, business, and citizens who use that road. Our overall road systems, voters and this future body will have to consider funding a transportation benefit district. It is the only real meaningful way to provide the necessary funding to ensure our roads are safe. I had a vision when I first started on this council, and I'm sorry that it isn't complete. I know we've had some work done on it, but State Route 503, I would like to see sidewalks from the ARCO station all the way to the intermediate school. I think that's important for the kids. I also think it's important that the state live up to its responsibility with State Route 503. I also believe that the 400 acres that are in the industrial zone that still need the infrastructure, that the plan that's going through that is going to take a considerable amount of planning, and it's going to require folks to be engaged in that process. I also think it's important, I've been through some mayors who I have been fond of. I have been with some mayors who I have not felt fond about serving with. I have learned a lot from both types of those personalities. But I do believe that the city council does need to consider the city manager form of government. The expense has already been made. Now it's a matter of changing the policy to give, in essence, the council more power over what goes on in the community. I am very concerned that anybody, and that's anybody, the beautiful thing about this country is someone can get a few yard signs, send out a few mailers, and they too can be running your $20 million city. And that concerns me that we, in this type of community, give that much power to one individual. I am happy about how it's working now, but I don't look for how things are working now. I look for 5, 10, 15, 20 years now and what's best for this community. So I think that will be something that this body will have to consider in the future, and I think that the citizens need to be engaged. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here. I've enjoyed the people that I've worked with on this board. I've taken something away from every person that I've served with here, and it has made me better both professionally and personally. Along the way, I've probably made a few enemies, but when you do this type of work, that's not uncommon. It wasn't never personal with me. I just felt better, that it was better for our community to go in a different direction. Now, normally, this is the part where I tell people who are interested in their community to step up and serve. Lately, though, I'm very concerned with this new thing called the cancel culture. It must not be allowed. Otherwise, people will risk their livelihoods by serving on their local city council or school boards. And I've had this question in my mind a lot, and so I'll ask it. Can you tell me who in their right mind would step up and serve their community when people are being called racist for using facts and logic to make decisions? This is very concerning, and I think you're going to limit really good talent from serving your community. I wouldn't change anything or any of the experience I've had here, but a word of caution for anyone considering this moonlight gig. If you do it right, this job is a ton of work, but it can be very rewarding as well. And so with that, I'll say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fredericks. Any other reports of City Council this evening? Mrs. Graham.
This has turned out to be quite an evening.
Follow that, right?
I came here with my little notes to myself about myself, and I thought I would be a number of ones with the decision that's being made tonight. As we all know, it's been 4 years, and we would be up for re-election this fall, but I too have decided not to run again. When I took this on 4 years ago, or well, I suppose it started at the beginning, almost 5, I had to do a lot of soul searching. I thought I'd never put myself in this position. As everybody, or most of you know, that I have lived this city since the 1960s. My husband was born and raised here. He worked for the city here for 37 years. He was mayor for 8 of those years, 17 as police chief, and the years, including the rest of that, was on the police department here in Woodland. I think his family might have rated 1 hair above the city. It was his desire and his dream, and he loved his community. I mean, he started here from the very get-go. It was very, very important, and we were together for many years as possible. It became important to the rest of us. We have made a lot of friends. I've had businesses here in town, the whole 9 yards. Jim was on the job of one of those jobs when this land was acquired for this building that's sitting right here. I was invited in my family to turn the dirt when they started this project here. So needless to say, the city of Woodland is very deep embedded in my heart. When I started this and I decided to run for city council, I didn't like some of the things that were going on and how people were working together. Since then, this past 4 years has been somewhere out in the universe. There's a really nice, good, big word for it, but I don't know where to find it right at the moment. But I do believe that now the city has moved so far ahead everybody here you see in this room tonight has worked together. We can be human to each other. We aren't sitting here with a vendetta in one seat, and you can't come into a job like this and have that either. You need to be open-minded, listen and learn, and keep it moving forward. We're not perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect, but you need to make it as best that you can. It's a give and take for a lot of things. Anyway, it was a rough, hard decision for me to even start this little campaign and project to begin with. But in my heart, I feel comfortable with what has happened now, and I am okay with stepping down. And try not to cry. I love everybody that's here. We have very, very good people. And we're doing what we can with what's given us. We reach a lot of roadblocks, and there is a lot of stuff that we can't accomplish. It's not that we don't want to, but we can't. And when we can, we will. So I hope the citizens of this community realize that there's a lot that goes behind the table that we don't realize what goes into running this city. And so if you plan on running for a council seat, there's going to be several positions open. That it's not because we're quitting, it's because the term is up. And I have some other personal reasons, so that stop me from doing it again. And but my personal reasons for doing it have been met, and I feel very comfortable with it. I'm leaving you guys in good hands. So think about it to the community members. Think about running. Think about learning. You've got a little bit of time, and go in head first, and be open-minded, and stay positive, and do the best for the community, not just yourself, but for the community. So with that, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my year.
Well, this meeting took a turn. I wasn't expecting any of this tonight.
Well, I wasn't expecting the rest of it.
Anyone else?
I want to ask Dave, are you sure your time's up this year?
This year?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Me and you ran at the same time.
I was just going to say that Chamber does legislative phone calls every Tuesday morning. Well, every Tuesday morning when I'm there, I ask them if they can put any pressure on the governor to get things open. So we are out there doing things, so trying to make a difference.
Thank you, Mrs. Rounds. Thank you, Mrs. Graham.
I need some time to adjust to breaking up the two.
Yeah. You've got, what's,
Will it help if we sign the agreement to come to council?
8 months.
Once a month?
What I'm hearing is it's not you, it's me.
I just wanted to be first, though. He has.
He got you. He got you. Jeez.
Sorry.
All right. Any other reports of City Council? Seeing none. Moving on to reports of standing committees. Public Safety.
Oh, boy. We have a meeting tonight. And, anyways. We had a report from Chief Jackson on the information that adopting the International Fire Code. And we discussed the details of the code and the positive impact it would have on the community. Also discussed was the adoption of the residential fire sprinkler code for newly constructed residences. This was something that we discussed shortly and looked more into it. Chief Jackson also provided information on the fire department equipment. The department will be getting 2 new engines. One I said which is in right now, and it will be stationed here in Woodland. And the reason for that, one of our engines will be retired because of the manufacturer is no longer in business. Parts were not going to be available to repair it, so it will be sold, and the money raised from that will go into the outstanding fire debt. Let's see. The police department, Chief Kelly explained a potential increase in funding for services received from CCSO for records services, details of the services and the added services, with changes in the record management system as well as the CAD system. And we also have an update on the movement of officers. Of course, we had one of them, tonight was
Sworn in.
That one. Excuse me. And there's still more officers to be moved around and other potential new ones. And our next officer is running #1 in the academy. So
Nice.
hopefully have a big celebration for when that is done. And our next meeting is April 9th.
Questions for Mrs. Graham on public safety?
Yes, I have one.
Mr. Fredericks?
Ms. Graham, did the chief indicate when the legislation for changing fire sprinklers will be coming to the council, or will be going through committee first?
Let's see, there was a couple of things from the fire department, maybe next council meeting, afterwards, but I don't know if that one will be included. That was just something we discussed tonight.
Yeah, he's going to bring that to council in 2 presentations, and the fire sprinkler one is going to be its own separate presentation so that we can go into detail, and if any questions we have, we can ask at that point.
Excellent. I look forward to that discussion.
Public Works, Mrs. Rounds.
We had a meeting tonight at 5:30. Scott Hill Booster Station is still on task. And the Davidson Water Railroad Crossing applied a grant for the expected to be 775 range with engineering and boring and substantial submittal. Sewer, a screen head replacement project, new screen in service 311 and training through 317, completed by 331. On the streets also, they have put about a ton of pre-mix into the potholes and have got a lot of those done. So they're going to be doing a lot more. I think she's purchasing quite a bit more too. So street miscellaneous, the asphalt work on rhododendron, they finally completed that and it looks really, really good. And the delivery of the baskets to Sagawa's, a couple of them were broken, but Sagawa's going to give us a good deal on those, and they're going to do them at the same price they did before. Police station, they're working on getting the police station set up for the EOC. And Arco is opening this week, and Popeyes is to follow. And we've got a handful of grants that she's working on out there, and hopefully some of those will come through too. And our next meeting is April the 19th.
Questions for Mrs. Rounds? Thank you, Mrs. Rounds. Mrs. Graham, Chamber Report.
Chamber report. The Chamber Board was very pleased here a couple weeks ago that we were able to go out and do our Citizen Business and Employee of the Year awards. We usually do them at our annual banquet, but being that is not happening, we still had to honor these 3 people. It was a surprise to him. I was very proud of my chamber board. We were all together for those presentations. And Joy Asmussen from Columbia Bank is our Citizen of the Year. Cody Arnold from Safeway is the Employee of the Year. And Anthony from the Corner Store is Business of the Year this year. They were very surprised, very pleased. Some of them had corporate people come in, and we had a lot of fun. And it made us feel better to be able to get out and do something positive finally for a change. Because, anyway, it was a lot of fun. Tuesday morning, 7:30, we have our legislative phone calls, and the morning is
Ed Orcutt.
Ed Orcutt, yes. And we are still open from 9 to 4. There are some types of passes available that you can purchase at the chamber office. We also have a gift item, so you can come and buy your souvenirs for the city. And our golf tournament, which will be, because it's outside, we get to have a golf tournament. Don't breathe on anybody. Go. And that will be August the 8th, or
The 20th.
August the 20th, Missouri Golf Course. So if you are interested in that, putting a team together or anything, you may call the chamber office and speak to Denise Miller, our executive director, and put a team together and come and have a fun day.
Questions for Mrs. Graham?
No, but you can have questions for me.
I've got questions for you.
No, I'm not Mrs. Brown. Yeah.
Did I say Rounds?
Yeah.
Oh, well, whatever. Questions for Mrs. Graham.
It don't matter.
Did I say Mrs. Rounds?
I don't know. You
I take it to the tape. I don't believe you. Take it to the tape.
You did.
Okay.
Hey, nobody's talking.
Cost you $10
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. I'll put that on my.
I
was going to say, I'll put that on my list here.
You can go to the Woodland Planners Day Celebration website, contact the girls through that. Tickets are available. We have Princess Gracie's with Princess Caitlin and Princess Caitlin.
Are they coming here this year?
As soon as we're able, I believe, anytime after March 22nd, we can have them in.
So we need Daddy's permission.
Mrs. Boysher, yes, I will. But they're very creative young ladies, I'll say. I've been hit up by at least 2 of them already in multiple different ways, electronically. Yeah. So and I've seen them out hitting the stores already too in their gear. So good for them. I've already got 100. I'm just letting everyone know. No competition or anything, but I've already purchased 100. So.
You just wasted 100? Is that what you said?
No. Hey, I won a heat gun last year. Okay.
Mayor's salary versus council salary.
Hey, I'm just reinvesting into my community.
At the end of the month, I'm happy to go to the movies by myself, and they're closed right now.
All right, moving on. Reports to city officers. We are working on a reopening plan, Mr. Boyce is, which we've been working through the last few weeks. As you know, the state has put a number of restrictions on us in order to reopen. What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Just moving on. We, as Mr. Plaza stated, we have been. I'd just like to address some of the comments that were made this evening. The fines is one of them for being in this room. As you can see, there are no employees in this room, only elected officials at this time, because we all feel it's that important that we be here to allow for open and constructive government and to be addressed by the citizens that we serve. And because of that, we're being punished by those at the state level. And with that, again, we are working on that reopening plan, but as a city, we also, as the mayor of the city, have a responsibility to protect the employees that work here. And when we don't do that, the coffers of the citizens are put at risk. Regardless of how we feel things should move forward, or our own thought process, we have a duty and responsibility to represent the 6,600 and not just those that share a common thought process. So with that, there's a reason why things are moving as slow as they are, because we have to do them in a systematic fashion. Or, again, we put the coffers at risk, and I'm just not willing to do that. I will note, too, that we have done a number of things within the city to help out our business owners. One of them was we were one of the first cities in the county to put pressure on the county commissioners to be the first in line to allow for reopening, which we were denied. We've also have created code and processes within the city to allow businesses to expand out into parking lots without a financial impact to them. Our community development department has gotten together with a number of businesses in town that have been able to do that. Normally there's a cost to do that. We were able to do that free of charge to allow those businesses to continue being open and to expand their customer base, which is something that I'm extremely proud of. We have dished out probably $150,000 or more in grant funding to businesses within town, within the city of Woodland, which is something else that I'm extremely proud of. We could have kept that money as a city and put it into our own coffers and used it for COVID relief and made up projects just to keep the money, and we did not. We put a majority of the money that was given to us from the state back into the businesses, and I believe one of the speakers this evening was a recipient of one of those funding mechanisms, which was not stated this evening. So it's hard for me to sit here and politely agree to disagree that we're not doing enough. But I find it somewhat amusing that all the negative is stated, but none of the positives are ever brought forward. So with that, we are working on the reopening plan, and we have been, and we will continue to do so, and once we're able to do that, we will be opening up. The PD is already open. The lobby is already open. It's not something that we have advertised, but feel free to stop by and say hi to the police department. And in regards to the industrial area, the feasibility study, we are still currently working on that, and I know there was Ms. Stoney was here this evening to speak to that. Ms. Coleman is working on putting water underneath the railroad right now, and that I believe is one of the grants that she has put out for to get water out there. We have not put that on the back burner. That is still a huge focus of ours, and we're working with our consultant on that, and I realize that we're not going to make everybody happy with intersections and roadways and where they go, but we're doing the best that we can. We have a development coming in town that's going to bring 300 plus jobs into our community. There's going to be an impact. There's going to be a positive one and a negative one, and again, we're not going to make everyone happy, but we are developing the property as promised, which we're all looking forward to. As far as the awards, I'm sorry that I was unable to attend with Miss Woodland this year. We were in quarantine, and we are now out. Everyone is healthy, but we plan on putting on our gear and getting out to tell those folks congratulations and take a photo with them. So we do look forward to that. With that, Mr. Boyce. You're muted, sir.
Again. Starting to see a pattern here with
We'll do training next week.
Yeah.
In-person training.
I just wanted to mention on the city council order regarding the low-income discounted bi-monthly rates, there's one small typo that we were hoping council could change in the approval. On the sheet titled Low Income Discounted Bi-Monthly Rates, item A, subsection 2A, there's the first column titled Usage Tiers. The last item says above 2,300 plus CF. That should say above 2,301 plus CF. Other than that, it looks good. So I'll keep my comments short tonight. If anyone has questions, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Questions for Mr. Boyce? Seeing none, Mr. Boyce, you're off the hook this evening.
All right. I'm going to mute.
Moving on to consent items.
Move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Chapman, seconded by Councilmember Fredericks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to action items. Action item C, ordinance number 1480, review and approval with conditions of the Kirkland Senior Living 150-unit mixed-use project, CPA 20-002, RZN-20-002/SPR 20-009/SEP 2-14 as recommended by the Woodland Planning Commission.
Question?
Mr. Fredericks.
So I understand there's not going to be a staff report on this at all. That was included in the packet. That's what we're getting.
That's correct.
Okay. I have a question. Well, I guess, can we ask a question if there's nothing that's...
Or do we got to bring it up for discussion? Parliamentary here.
You have a question, why don't you move to approve, we'll go to discussion, and we can vote either way after it's all said and done.
No.
This is Jeff.
I guess a parliamentary question.
Mr. Fredericks.
We're going out on a limb here. This is not a parliamentary question, but it is a legal question.
Okay.
It was raised by Ms. Calvert this evening in her testimony to have a possible legal back and forth, because there have been legal claims that have been made on both sides. And is that consistent with this process? Has that been done before in this type of matter?
I'm sorry, I'm not following the question.
Ms. Calvert raised earlier that there was, she thought that it would be appropriate that we should take this to a workshop and have both legal sides respond to, and some of this has been responded to. There was some items that were included late in the packet on Friday that were legal issues that were raised. Is it appropriate in this type of matter to have that type of discussion?
I mean, a legal issue is always there, because they always have the right to say that the council is constrained by whatever. One of the things which was said, which question, is there, rather than me droning on, do you have a specific question about the law? I think it was ably briefed by both sides, but maybe I can help the council.
No, I agree. I think it was as well. I think you've answered my question without answering it. If that makes sense.
Have you ever considered running for office? Yeah.
Yes. You should be a politician too. That's fantastic.
Back to action item C, ordinance number 1480. Seeing none, moving on to action item D, authorize mayor to sign an agreement for roof leak repair at 100 Davidson Avenue, SMA-21-004.
I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement for roof leak.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Rounds.
It has to be done.
Councilmember Smith.
So this was deferred last council meeting, and they were supposed to get a quote, but they did the repair without getting a quote, and so it
Which
still
came in
is
good.
It's
Thank
good.
goodness.
It's been fixed, and it was still reasonable cost. I think it was $1,700, I think, around there. So they did a good job, and it was reasonably priced, and I think we need to pay it since the work's already been done.
Further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote on action item D, leak repair at 100 Davidson. Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 7-0. Moving on to action item E, authorize... Yes.
I'd like to go back to ordinance 1480 and state a motion, please.
Mr. Fredericks.
I'd like to make a motion to deny ordinance number 1480.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks to deny Ordinance number 1480, seconded by Councilmember Plaza. Councilmember Fredericks.
First off, I think the applicant deserves to have an opinion from the members of this body. I believe the project itself is a good project. I believe it's a good project in the wrong place. And I believe that Ms. Calvert with the Horenstein Law Group has made a fantastic legal argument. I find her arguments to be concise and consistent with my feeling on the matter, and I think it's appropriate to deny the application given its location. But I do believe that the members, there's a lot of money that goes into this, and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears when you're working on this type of project. And I think that I do believe that this body should share their opinion as to reason why they support it or don't to support it. That's where I, as one member of this body, come from. I've came into this with an open mind, clear mind, had no preconceived notions on what I thought, what this was going to be, but I read all the material, and that's the conclusion that I came to in the end, based upon the information that was in front of me. I believe this process has been fair. I believe it is a tough decision, because I do feel like the applicant here is doing good things. For me, I have a difficult time sandwiching this property in between two light industrial areas. And so that for me is a struggle. So that's where I'm at on it.
Councilmember Plaza.
Yeah, basically, I am voting to deny this for the same reason I voted to deny every other residential building that's been proposed being put in that area, and mainly it's because of the traffic and what's the word I'm looking for? The increase in hazard to civilians, pedestrians, vehicles, and truck drivers that have to use that road on a regular basis. Even though the proposal or the belief may be that traffic won't increase too much due to the age of the residents, there's just no way to know for sure. And I am an err on the side of caution guy most of the time. And so that's why, again, like Councilmember Frederick said, I think it's a great idea. Our community and our seniors, they do need places to live in town. There is no affordable places for them to live, but I just don't think that this is the right location for it. So that's why I'll be voting no. Or to deny.
Further discussion? Mr. Chapman?
This is for Mr. Goddard. Mr. Goddard, Travis, if we would have voted yay on this, would that have been our silver bullet for the year of changing the comprehensive plan?
Yes, I believe so.
That's all I want to make for sure.
Okay. Mrs. Rounds?
I just wanted to say, too, that I think the project is great. I just don't agree with where it's at. So we do need some senior citizens living quarters, but just not in that area. So.
Thank you, Ms. Rounds. Mr. Smith?
I'm going to echo the same statements here, but I think Councilman Fredericks has a very good point. You deserve to hear from us. You did invest a lot of time and money, but the big reason is traffic in that area. It's the worst intersection going through there. If this project was in a different spot, it looked beautiful, and I think it would be good for the businesses having those people in this town, but it is just the wrong location. If there was another spot, it would be heavily considered for me to say yes on it, but I don't think I can go that route. So,
Mrs. Graham?
I too agree with my fellow council members on a lot of things, and the being of the age group that would consider a facility to live in if it ever comes to that. I would not choose it personally myself, and I don't agree with the changing of any code for anything, making it commercial. If you're talking a salon, a spa, and a pub, it's being open to the public, I'm sure that my group of friends would not want to go party at a senior living facility. And talking of public transportation and whatnot, I know I spent 2 days reading 120 pages, by the way. And we don't have C-Tran, we don't have public transportation. And you may say, well, you know, and the parking was a little concerning to me. I know there's stats and there's been a lot of investigation in the whole thing that I myself could not see living there because I live on my car. And to go places, my doctors are not here in town. Anyway, the potential of it is terrific, but I don't think the location, and not everybody, when you get to be senior age, is going to be the walk in the safe part. I'm sorry, guys. It just would not happen in my household, so I would say I cannot agree with myself.
Mrs. Holland? You're the other one who hasn't spoken?
I guess my concern really is that I remember a couple of years ago when another developer purchased a piece of land catty corner from this one, kind of, and wanted to build an apartment complex. And a lot of people had a big connection fit over that, though that land butts up against on two sides other apartments. But it's sacred light industrial ground that nothing has been on in what? I moved here in 1972 when I was a toddler and nothing's been there. And I don't think anything's been in this little triangular piece of property. So I guess my concern is that folks buy land here with, I don't know why, the assumption is that apartment complexes and whatnot should go there. Because then when they get here, it gets shot down. And I remember sitting in the back of this room with the discussion on that other piece of land with a different developer and a different plan, and the same group of people didn't like that one, and they didn't like this one, and I mean, I don't get it, I guess, because I've lived here so long that when you drive by a piece of land and nothing sits there, but I don't understand why, if it's this sacred light industrial or commercial piece of land, why nobody's doing that with it and why they haven't in my lifetime. So, and also I thought this was 55 and over, so I'm kind of offended that everybody's calling it senior living because I'm 50 and in 5 years I could, potentially be a resident. So I'm not a senior citizen yet. Oh, well, I thought it was 55 and over. I don't know.
They would consider you, I believe.
Hey, AARP keeps sending me things.
I got asked at Ace the other day if I wanted their senior discount. I almost knocked the cash register over on the floor.
But
People don't pay card.
So those are my concerns, is that
That's not what they weren't worried about.
that people want to build here, and nobody, it was kind of interesting that there wasn't really any pushback on the 150 some odd houses going in by my house. and all of the traffic that would put onto Wood River Road. That's our, what is that, 503. So, yeah, right, it's residential, but the traffic. I mean, I grew up on a corner where semi-log trucks went by my house from sun up till sundown every day for forever. So kind of a similar thing, you know? Trucks going through all day long. But, I don't know, I don't really have a dog in the fight. I kind of wonder why we do the things we do here. People put a lot of time and money into purchasing land and coming up with plans, and then we go to our planning department, or our planning committee, who then makes their proposal, and then it just kind of dies here. So I'm trying to process how to kind of make this work better, I guess, because I don't get it. And Travis knows this, I love him, but he's the department board, and so it takes a lot of me to read it over and over again, so maybe I can talk with him and he can explain it to me as well. But, there you go. I don't really have I read through all of this. I don't see it as an evil thing, because I've watched all kinds of crazy stuff in the 5 years I've been to council meetings. I've seen decisions made that make absolutely no sense to me, to cater to people who did nothing after they got the approval. Golf course, or golf cart zone, for one, let me just say, with one permit has been issued, I think was the last thing I heard, after all the money and time that was put into that.
I just want that on the road side of town. I
Huh?
saw golf carts on the other side of town.
Yeah. So, there you go.
Still a sore subject for me, Ms. Holland.
Thank you, Mrs. Holland. Anything further on ordinance number 1480?
Just a clarifying
Mr.
question.
Smith.
This is a motion to deny it, so a yes vote is to deny it.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
No.
Councilmember Graham. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
No.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
The ayes have it, 5-2. Moving on to action item E, authorize the city to send financial support to the COG toward the task 1 of an arterial study in the Woodland, Washington vicinity.
Oh, move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Holland, seconded by Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Holland.
This is something that would benefit us, and it won't, it's, oh, God, I'm sorry, I've been here way too long tonight. Tracy sent us a great packet on this, and if everybody took a look at it, it's something that could be explored, and might be something cool down the road. There you go. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm not real talky tonight.
That's all right. Councilmember Smith.
This was brought up in Public Works, and it's $4,000 to the CW to explore another outlet out of Woodland with a bridge going over to the Ridgefield side of the center over by the casino. It's only $4,000 to us to help chip in. As far as Clark County and Cowlitz County, I think they are pursuing them to chip in to see if they can get this going. I think it's reasonable, and I think we should do it.
Further discussion? Mr. Fredericks.
Where is the money coming from, since nothing is budgeted and you're not asking for a budget amendment?
Ms. Coleman, where's the money coming from?
We didn't receive one of our grants, so one of the pockets of money that I was going to use for matching funds, I'm pulling it from there.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman.
Okay.
We did not receive the CDBG grant for Beechwood sidewalks, so I'm going to transfer some money in there.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Anything further? All right. Action item E, authorize to send financial support to the CWCOG towards the task 1 of an arterial study in the Woodland, Washington vicinity. Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to action item F, authorize Public Works to purchase a bucket truck from Cowlitz PUD.
Motion to approve purchase of a bucket truck.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Smith.
Again, this is Public Works. Cowlitz County is selling a bucket truck, and it sounds like a pretty reasonable deal. I think it would be good for our city to have that option, to be able to get some of the work done that we normally have to beg borrow to get a bucket truck from other localities. And for the cost of $15,000, maybe less depending on what they offer. I think it's a good deal.
Councilmember Rounds.
I agreed.
Further discussion? Ms. Coleman, I'll ask the question that Mr. Frederick wants to know. Is this item budgeted for 2021?
It says it is.
I did not budget for it for 2021, but I do have funding available in my road fund because of the fact that I am saving money by piggybacking on a project with Cowlitz County for some road construction. So I'm going to be able to do some road repairs for reduced costs, which will allow the majority of this funding to pay for that bucket truck. But there'll probably be about $5,000. We don't have the final price for the bucket truck yet. There'll probably be about $5,000 that I'm not sure where it's going to come from yet, but I definitely have funding available in my line items that I can move it around to cover that cost.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman.
Now I have a question.
Mr. Fredericks.
So this description on the agenda sheet tells us that it's coming from $5,000 out of repairs and maintenance and $10,000 out of capital equipment for the streets department. I guess my concern is if that's what you're telling us today, but you're changing it in a week or two, this is a policy decision that the council is agreeing to when it says that we're okay with you taking money from these two areas. We may not be okay if you're requesting to purchase something that's outside the budget and then have you later change, well, I'm not going to take it out of there after we've already approved it for you to take it out of these two funds.
Ms. Coleman.
So the funds will come out of street funds regardless. It's not going to come out of anything other than streets. So I have a total budget with all these different line items in my street funding. So whether I move those items around, as long as I keep it in streets, I'm not going to have to request for a budget amendment or anything. I can just move my line items based on if my project comes in a little less or if I spend a little more. I move my line items to make that adjustment, and I'm still within budget with that bottom line number for my street funding. So you shouldn't have any problem there at all. We won't have any problem there at all.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Mr. Fredericks.
I certainly won't debate whether or not moving line items is fine. Yeah, I think you're certainly well within your right. I think sometimes, though, that there's a policy decision. And an example would be if the council thought it was a good idea to put $25,000 in the park fund for a specific purchase in the park fund, say, I don't know, a play set, and you in the middle of the year decided that you wanted to buy something other than a play set, and you bought chairs and garbage cans and all that, and you were going to take it out of the existing budget, I think that that's where the policy decision, because that is a policy decision, I think that the council should have some weigh-in on that. And that's all I'm saying here is if you're telling us on the agenda summary sheet that this is how you're paying for it, then that's how it should be coded when the bill is paid.
Ms. Coleman.
I don't disagree with that at all. I do know that where I've coded it is where I know I'm going to have some extra funding due to some reduced costs that I know that are coming my way. So we should be okay.
Excellent, thank you.
Further?
I got a question for
Oh,
you.
Mr. Smith?
So if the funding does change, you'll come back to us to change where it's going to come from?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Ms. Coleman, for the record, I would say I would absolutely hate to do that if I were you. So I can certainly appreciate the fact that probably you feel like your hands are tied, but that's not what I'm attempting to say here. I just want to make sure that you're allowed to do whatever you want, but that we are clear with how the money is going to be spent when it's being presented to council. That's all. And I think you've done a nice job of that here, so thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for letting me clarify.
All right, action item F, authorize Public Works to purchase a bucket truck from Cowlitz County PUD. Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Yes.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
I don't know where I am. Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham. Who'd I miss?
Me.
Mr. Smith. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to action item G, City Council Order 2021-3 regarding low-income senior citizen and disabled utility billing rate. And I will remind council that Mr. Boyce stated that item A2A, usage tiers above, should read above 2,301 plus CF.
Move to adopt City Council Order 2021-3 regarding low-income senior citizen and disabled utility billing rate with the modification in Section 2 under usage tiers above 2,301, it should read plus CF.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Fredericks.
No discussion.
Councilmember Rounds.
No discussion.
Further discussion? Seeing none. Councilmember Graham. Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to action item H, authorized statement of work for IT service provider networks. Next works, sorry.
I'll make a motion to authorize statement of work for IT service provided networks.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, second by Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Rounds.
No comment.
Councilmember Chapman.
No comment.
Further discussion?
Perhaps
Seeing none.
Yeah, no.
Mr. Fredericks.
I hate to be the what are we doing here, but I did some simple math. I took $3,314.50 and I multiplied that times 12. Am I not doing that because it's only a partial year? Is that what we're doing here?
Mr. Boyce? Did you hear the question?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Tell me how do you had... Boy, that was not good.
Are we only paying for a partial year on this? Or Mr. Fredericks has done math and it doesn't equal out, so he's asking if it's a partial year increase.
Yes, I believe it is.
Well, the reason I ask is because if you take the amount per month and you multiply that times, let's presume 9 months, April through December, is that 9 months?
Sure.
Pregnant?
That equals $29,000. We have $34,000 budgeted, and is it just for that line item alone? Or are there other IT support services in that BARS number that are going to be coded to that when invoices come through for other things? I don't know how you come up with an unexpended balance of $30,883. You're only saying that that's 1 month worth. Is this for only 1 month?
Right, so the unexpended balance of $30,883 is what is left in that line item after February. That is where that amount comes from.
What is the total cost of this item for calendar year 2021?
Let me do the math here.
So you already did it.
believe the cost for the remainder of the year is $29,830.
Now we're cooking with grease. Okay, I've come up with the same number. If I subtract the amount that we have budgeted, that leaves roughly unexpended balance of roughly $5,000. So my question to you is, are there going to be future expenses in this calendar year, April through May, that are going to exceed $5,000 in expense? Is this a new expense, or was it planned for during the budget process?
No.
No to what?
Was it planned for, or is this a new expense? Was it planned for through the budget?
It was planned for. We didn't know the total extent of the increase with NextWorks, but it did come in under budget.
Okay, so just to add on to that, Mr. Boyce, I guess what I'm asking is, are you going to be spending more than what is left in that budget for the rest of the year on IT services for something else? And will you be coming back to the council asking for a budget amendment because now you would, in this case, be overspending because it was not maybe planned for? Or are you saying that it was planned for?
It was planned to continue the contract with NextWorks. We don't have anything on that we see coming down the pike that will exceed that amount from this line item. So barring an emergency situation, I don't see us coming to council for budget amendment.
Mr. Chapman just said it out of the corner left of my ear. I just heard him say, so next year we can reduce the budget by $5,000 in that line item. That's just a joke.
Always the goal.
Okay, thank you. I thank you, Mr. Boyce.
Anything further? Seeing none. Action item H, authorized statement of work for IT service provider NextWorks. Councilmember Rounds.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham. Councilmember Plaza.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Fredericks.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We've come to the portion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Fredericks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The time is now 9:34. Thank you, everyone.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Coleman. Have a good night.
Go there, yeah.
Will do, nice boy.
Look how skinny I am.
Whatever.
Have a nice week. I'll talk to you later.
Look how skinny I
I can't even see you. I bet you have to run around in the shower to get wet. You're so skinny.
am.
All right, good night. Oh, everybody left. They're like, we're done. Oh, I forgot to shut this down. Did you not shut this down? They got all that on tape, right? Oh, well. Yeah, just make sure that I shut them all.
That is what people appreciate, right? I may not agree with you.
I know. That's not.
Well, you know what?
Let's see here. We're still recording.
Very.
We got all. Okay. We got it.
We got the app.
I'm gonna have to pull it out. Well, thank God you did. Don't put it out. Glad we could oblige you this evening, sir. Have a good night. Drive safe.
Guess what's coming out of his mouth?
I don't know if. Oh, I'm gonna have to. Okay. How do I?
B-52.
How do I just shut it down? Oh, maybe other.
You been dropped like a B-52?
Yeah, it just it locked me out. So do I just shut it down?
So we turned it
Yeah.
off.
Shut down.
You're not gonna vote for me
Through
next
it now, it's still recording because we couldn't get into it.
Okay, we're just gonna. I turned it off, but I'm gonna stop. Okay, I'm gonna assume it's still
I
going.
hope I didn't make life harder for you.
Nope, you're fine. You're good. Hey, I appreciate the backup. I appreciate that. Thank you. We could be. I don't know. So I'm gonna just say yes, because I can't tell. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Don't say anything you wouldn't want on the front page of the paper right now.
Too late.
We're good.
Oh,
That B-52 on sale.
They go back to one.
Okay, there's that.
Senior living place.
Hey, there's more than four.
Good or bad, just.
Just saying.
And, you know, it was low-income housing thing.
But it's,
That we can't afford to have that in the city.
but the other piece of land wasn't. I was here for all of it, and the guys, what he showed was luxury apartments. And.
Well, that's what he showed, but we asked him,
No.
he could, once we approved it, he could go out there and do that on like a low ball minor. He couldn't guarantee us that he wouldn't do that. That's why I said no.
Oh, hey, Joe Biden's up there now.
Yeah, good old Joe, who probably forgot.
I don't know, I just.
Good old Joe.
There's a new face.
And her, but her. Every day's a new day for Joe.
You can tell him the same joke over and over.
Yes, same time, every day. God bless y'all, see you in 2 weeks.
No, I got the info I sent up. I didn't know that you asked that you wanted. Oh, yeah, I guess I did. Sorry. No doubt about it. Oh, okay. Hey, you guys have a good night.
Oh, I just need a second here. I think, the other one, I don't know, is it locked? I used to have a spare one of those, I think. It's just,